Welcome back to the channel. The Suburban is rolling right along, and I think what we left it last time is I had the other quarter panel done, and now I've got one of the fenders done, and it came out real nice. And I got the back of it. This rack is very handy. I got it at Vimva. Anyway, it was only 60 bucks, so it was worth its weight in gold. I was going to paint in here black, but the base covers so well on this, it really didn't take much base, and you're not going to see any of this tucked back in here. But it sure made it all clean and shiny, so that it's going to be serviceable and washable. So we've got one fender done, and the next challenge is this up here, because I'm not going to step around all these doors. If I were to paint these doors and then start up here, it would be, just wouldn't be good. So I'm going to work on this next. And it is rough. It looks pretty good, but it's rough. So I'm going to start working on that, and we're going to get that blue. Because I didn't want to bore you with going over each panel as they got painted, a lot of progress has happened, but it's taken months. But the point that I left off was this top. And this top, I don't know if you can see it, but I created a line here and on the other side, and it just came out beautiful. And I'm going to tell you right now, this was an incredible amount of work. But with doing this in a garage, I'm getting a little bit of dirt in things, and I'll show you more later. But this whole area has come out so sweet. I ordered a windshield, and the windshield's going to clean all of this up here. It's going to cover right up to here and over, actually. But this is really, really, really come a long way, and the time frame, is just going to amaze you how long it takes. With all of this painted, and then the last piece that I've just done is this tailgate. And it really made the whole rear here. But it just took hours and hours to create this little indentation for your hand, for the handle. So with this done, now this is a little dusty over here. This is one of the last pieces I need to do. I'm going to work on that now. With the anticipation it's going to come out as nice as these doors. And I'm going to do a carpet kit. It's already here because I'm running out of time. And I can always pull the carpet kit up and then do the bed liner in the back here. But as you can see, it's really moved along. And this is going to be the longest part of the restoration, is this paint and body. But when it's done, just the way that this tailgate just moves right into somewhat of a, downforce angle. You know, I mean, it's got a little bit of customization that gives it kind of a little bit of I don't know, racer look. But overall, if you remember, I had joined this part here, just this piece here came from the lift gate, the rear window hatch, and then I fabricated and left this handle hole. But all in all, it's just so exciting to see how far this has come along and how close we are to starting with the nuts and bolts. So with everything pretty much painted on the cab, the next thing was, I'm going to show you the door. This was the last piece of the cab, was this driver's door. So I was going to put a windshield in myself, and I came to my senses and I realized I was an idiot. And after watching the guy put this in, I realized, do not try to put one in with chrome trim. It is absolutely, we worked on it for 2 or 3 hours, but it came out, the trim's beautiful. So we've got the windshield in. Now that all the paint is done, all of the teal is painted, even the ashtray and the glove box, I moved on to the underside, and I used the Rhino liner up in the wheel wells and bottom and even part of the frame, and then just some of that chassis saver, is what it's called. And I didn't really do a whole lot of cleanup, but it sure makes everything look good. Moving on to the back, I got the back tail lights in. I've got them all wired, and they are operating from the wiring harness up at the firewall. I just put some power to it, made sure that they were working. Also blacked out the hitch and got the side markers on. But what took me a long time was the fuel tank and getting that sending unit to work right. But now it's in there and it's looking good. After the fuel tank, I realized that I'm going to have to start plating because the stuff's going back together now and all the bolts. So I'm not going to go into the plating process, but we're going to do most of the bolts, nuts and hardware and stuff that we can with our smaller setup here. And if you're a fellow plater, this is a good time to clean everything up and filter your pickling solution, if you understand what that is. But anyway, I won't bore you with that. So I'll have the plating set up, and we're going to start working on the front steering and brake system. And we're going to need to make all our bolts look like these brand new ones, and that's the goal. So next is the steering and the brakes. Some of the plating is getting done, and the rear bumper brackets with the plated bolts should look really nice. And the brake booster is built, and more plating. And I refinished the bracket for the throttle, the foot feed, and those are re-plated. And these are not painted, these are plated with black chromate so that you know, it's just the extra mile. And they go to the vents below at your feet. Got them all pulled apart and painted. The heater core retainers, and I've finished these, and this is what I use when I don't have a lot of rust to deal with. There was a few pockets of rust, a little bit around edges and some spots where it was rusty, and I put a little self-etching primer on it first, and Then I top coated it with that automotive. And this cowl here was a fiberglass material. And so I've used this in the past and it's worked really well. It's a primer and paint in one, and I figured that it's UV rated also. So I thought it'd be a good choice for this. We'll just have to see. But it looks really good. And it was faded out. It wasn't broken or fraying or anything. All of these little lines in here are actually factory. I mean, it really wasn't. It was in great shape. So I've got that. And I put a new pump on. The motor ran good. This is the wiper motor. And a few other little parts. But it's mounted. And Chico decided he doesn't want to work on a snow day, so he's got his camo gear here that he pulled out of his box. And, you know, Chico, you're going to have to get out in the shop. This is getting... I might have to take you off the... I might have to get rid of you, Chico. You know, I can't continue to pay for you to lick and play with your stupid little camo sweater. Okay, so are you going to be able to show up today? All right, okay, I trust you will. There's a lot of parts that need to be ordered. So, are you up for that, Chico? Okay. With hoses exiting out the firewall with a new grommet. The brakes are on and the pedals adjusted, and so is the brake light switch. Next up is getting this wiring loom mounted in the firewall. And the insulation works really well, and the cutouts are big enough. I don't think I'm going to have any issue. The heater box is on. Everything's wired up. Looks really good. And I'm making a lot of progress on the dash. I've got all the stuff in here. All the cables are hooked up. Got a new lighter. Got a new heater control. Now what I did with this AM radio is it's just a dummy. So what I did is I cut all kinds of stuff off the back. It weighs a ton, gets in the way of everything, and I'm not gonna, no one's gonna use the AM radio anymore. So I left the knobs. It even has the little red dial that still works. You can still turn it on, although it's not operable. But it really, I got it off of eBay, and it was worth the 50-60 bucks it cost. And all the gauges, I've cleaned the glass, cleaned everything up. New switches on the wiper and on the light switch. I've got a new ignition switch, and I've got the GM keys. And up underneath here, all the wiring and fuse box is mounted. And I didn't put the emergency brake in or the levers for the little flapper doors, so I could just really have a lot of access. But that's all done. Everything's hooked up under the dash, so to speak. And the glove box, it's on. I was able to save the sticker, 90% of it. New latch, new glove box. So we're getting there. But this was a big step, getting this dash and the wiring through the firewall. I wanted to do all that prior to the motor going in. So it's really starting to take shape. Here's all that box for the AM radio that none of it's there. It's just a dummy plate, but it's all OEM, which is really cool. So this will be a before and after. Here is the motor in all its glory. But boy, does it run good. So I'm not going to mess with a thing but cosmetics. Now this is the before. And here's the after. Looking good. So now I am battling the starter. I don't know why, but I don't know. This thing's been sitting on the engine stand for about 8 months. Could it possibly have warped this back? I'll let you know, because my starter is not engaging properly. It's too close. So I think I could probably shim it if it has disformed this tab here. You know, if it's pushed it in, I'm not sure. I can't imagine that. I mean, I'm looking right down it, and it looks straight as an arrow. I think I'm just doing something wrong. But anyhow, there's the after. Now we're ready to slide it in. There she is, about 3/4 the way in. A lot has happened. I've got the drive line in. I am working hard to get this thing running, so I didn't have time to do a lot of video clips, but there's a lot of little loose ends and things that I've done. But basically, I've got the motor in, got all the fuel lines run, I've got the distributor timed and got all those wires run. I spent close to 2 days on the starter. It was just a ridiculous process, but I finally got it shimmed properly and working. But right now what I'm doing is wiring up the electric fans, which they're mandatory when you're in cruise lines and hot August nights, because it's just so damn hot. So I'm a firm believer in these Doral fans. I've got them on a GTO, and I've plated a few things like the top of the brake reservoir. Plated a lot of things actually. Got this Power Master alternator that's chrome. The wiring is run. Got the new holder here that protects the wiring going across the radiator. And this radiator obviously is not stock, and I did a lot of adjustment. I didn't want to crush it in there, so I've got it just like I want it. And I put the nice sticker on there. What else? Painted the exhaust. So we are getting so close to starting this, I can hardly wait. And that is really the next step. I'm also a fanatic on soldering. I solder anywhere I can. And there's 2 fans, and they are controlled by this unit here. We're going to see how that works. So we're getting really, really close to getting this thing started. And hopefully I don't forget once it's running to give you a video of that. But I'm moving so fast because I really just can't. I just want to get back to bikes. This has taken months and months. But it's actually somewhat quick compared to some people's projects which go on for years. So let's get this thing started. I'm really rolling now. I've got the carpet about halfway done. I had to really concentrate on all the brackets because those have to be in before the carpet, and that took a long time to do the console brackets, and they're all welded to the floor. One little tool that you really have to have is a carpet knife. It's a utility knife blade that cuts carpet, and it really made this easy. So the molding that came from LMC truck seemed to give me a really good guideline so that I could cut the slits in here for those brackets and have them be near perfect. So we've got the carpet going in. Then next will be the seats. And I've got a big, well, Hot August night's coming, so I'm not going to be able to get the window regulators and the glass in, I don't believe. But I did get the wind wings in and the felts on. So no one will really know because it's really hot. No one's got their windows up. And I'll get the door panels on. I've got the paint and everything for them. They're going to be black. And I know that this video is not showing every single detail, but I've really got to get this thing done, so I am just rolling when I can and breaking for video when I can. So the progress though is big, and I really am jumping and doing a lot between the videos. As you can see, I've got the doors, for the most part they're built for what I'm going to do. I've got the wind wings in. I've got the carpet in and the molding, brake system, throttle. The center console is solid as a rock, and it's going to be easy to take out when I go through this again after Hot August Nights. I'm going to install the stereo. I painted the roll bar, the seat bracket, and mounted it. It's all cinched down. Got the rear carpet in. And the door panels have been refinished, and they work really, really well. I'm super stoked about them. Polished the rings, these chrome trim rings. Used the SEM. This is called Landau Black, and their adhesion promoter. And it's a great product. Only time will tell, but it seems very, very rugged and smooth. And I just painted them outside, but I cleaned them very, very well. And the coverage was excellent. They look new. And the scrolling is amazing. Now Chico wasn't much help. on this. I had to find the SCM stuff on my own, so he kind of dropped the ball a little, didn't you, Chico? But there they are, with the fronting completed. And all of the wiring, it took me a long time to get the grounds all solid. I had to scrape off the paint where the grounds are, get all the blinkers, everything's working. The fans are in, and they click on and off right when they're supposed to. The engine's running just like it did before, and all of the hookups and wire and coolant hoses, everything. And I went with this digital controller for your fans. The GTO had a different one. It wasn't quite as elaborate, but this is digital and allows you to actually set your on and off point. So if you want it to come on earlier, which a lot of times when I'm just in cruise lines, I probably want the damn thing on all the time. The exhaust is all run completely to the back. Everything's pretty much done under the hood. The wheels have been detailed. And the last thing I'm going to do is put the center caps on. So this is a really good time to end this segment of the restoration. I'm going to pick it back up with the rear seats and the building. I've got a plan for the upholstery on the side over here, all of that, to cover that up, and I'll go over that in the next video. But she's really starting to look good. So until the next video, I will see you all then. And thank you for the support and for the viewing, because I have asked a lot of questions. I've had a lot of people give me some really good information so that I wouldn't have to dig forever. So we'll see you on the next Suburban Moto Hauler video.